It was supposed to be the summer of answers, but instead, it became the summer of broken hearts. Two brothers, Conrad and Jeremiah, stand on opposite sides of the same love, and episode 11 pushes their rivalry to the edge. What happens when love, loyalty, and family collide? Let's dive into the storm that is Conrad versus Jeremiah. The story of The Summer I Turned Pretty has always been about more than just a love triangle. It is about growing up, about learning that love is not always soft and simple, and about realizing that sometimes the people who love us most are also the ones who can hurt us the deepest. By the time we reach Season 3, Episode 11, this truth is sharper than ever. Every glance, every word, and every decision feels heavier because we know that Belly, Conrad, and Jeremiah are no longer kids just testing the waters of young love. They are standing in the middle of an emotional hurricane, and nothing will ever be the same again. From the very first scene, the air feels different. Conrad is quieter than usual, his silence carrying more weight than words. He has always been the guarded one, the brother who hides behind his walls because showing too much might mean losing everything. But silence can speak, and in this episode, his silence screams louder than any confession. On the other side, Jeremiah is restless, unable to keep his feelings buried. He has always been the brother who loves out loud, who believes that if he just fights hard enough, he can win the heart he wants. And this time, he is not backing down. Not even for Conrad. The stage is set for a confrontation that fans have been waiting for since the very beginning. The idea of Conrad versus Jeremiah isn't just about who gets the girl. It's about years of tension bubbling over, about two brothers who love the same person but express that love in opposite ways. Belly is the center of their universe. But in this episode, she becomes more than that. She is the reason their bond as brothers might finally break. What makes this episode so powerful is not just the fights, the stares, or the confessions, it's the emotional weight behind them. The writers knew exactly how to pull us into the pain of these characters, making every moment feel real. For anyone who has ever been torn between two choices, for anyone who has ever felt their heart split in two, episode 11 captures the chaos. With brutal honesty, the hook of this entire season has been the question, who will Belly choose? But episode 11 reminds us that this is not just her choice. It is also about Conrad deciding whether he will fight for her or let her go, and about Jeremiah proving that his love is more than just a summer crush. This episode forces us to ask, can love survive when family is on the line? Can two brothers ever recover from this kind of rivalry? As we move deeper into the recap, keep in mind that this episode is not simply a continuation of their story. It is a turning point. The summer house, once a place of joy and tradition, now feels like a battlefield where every word could be a weapon. The beauty of the season is still there, with soft sunsets and warm beaches, but under the surface, the calm is gone. What remains is tension, longing, and the kind of heartbreak that lingers far longer than summer itself. Episode 11 isn't just another chapter, it's the moment everything changes. And as we step into the recap, we're not just watching characters, we're watching people. We've grown to care about face choices that will define them forever. Asterisk, the episode opens with a stillness that feels heavy, like the air before a summer storm. Conrad lingers on the edges of the group, his eyes following Belly, but never daring to rest too long. His silence isn't empty, it's filled with all the words he has never been able to say. You can almost hear his thoughts fighting inside, of him begging to be spoken but trapped by fear. He wants to tell Belly what she means to him, but for Conrad, vulnerability has always felt like weakness. And in this episode, that weakness threatens to betray him. Jeremiah, on the other hand, refuses to hold back. He walks into scenes with a boldness that feels raw, almost reckless. He's tired of waiting, tired of being second in line. The episode makes it clear he doesn't just want Belly, he needs her to see that his love is steady, uncomplicated, and free of the shadows that always seem to surround Conrad. Jeremiah's words cut through the tension like lightning. He doesn't whisper his feelings, he declares them, as if saying them out loud will make them undeniable. Belly stands caught. Between them, her face a storm of conflict. The audience can see how deeply she feels for both brothers, And this is where the episode shines. It doesn't paint Belly as indecisive or careless. Instead, it shows her as a young woman overwhelmed by the weight of two loves that pull her in opposite directions. In one moment, we see her eyes soften when Conrad's guard slips for just a second. In the next, she turns to Jeremiah, drawn to the safety and openness he offers. Every look, every pause, every silence becomes a clue, leaving viewers desperate to know which way her heart leans. The pacing of episode 11 is deliberate. Quiet moments are stretched out, forcing us to feel the awkward pauses between the three of them. But when conflict strikes, it explodes. The tension that has been building through the season finally cracks in this episode, giving us a confrontation between Conrad and Jeremiah that feels both heartbreaking and inevitable. Words are thrown like stones, sharp and unrelenting. Each brother lays bare his anger, his jealousy, and his fear of losing Belly. For Conrad, the fear is rooted in losing the one person who makes him feel seen. For Jeremiah, the fear is about being overshadowed once again by the brother who always seems to take what he wants without trying. What makes this confrontation so gripping is that both brothers are right in their own way. Conrad's love for Belly is deep, but his silence has left scars. Jeremiah's love is pure and open, but sometimes his passion blinds him to the complexity of what Belly truly needs. Watching them clash is painful because it isn't just about romance, it's about years of brotherhood unraveling in front of us. The bond that once held them together now threatens to break apart entirely. Belly, caught in the middle, doesn't have the luxury of escape. She's forced to listen as the two people she cares about most tear each other apart. Her silence in these moments speaks louder than words. She doesn't choose, not yet, but the pain on her face shows us that no matter what decision she makes, someone's heart will be shattered. By the end of the episode, the summer house feels different. The warmth of its walls, once filled with laughter and tradition, now echo with the ghosts of everything that's been said. And everything that hasn't. The ocean outside may still crash against the shore, but inside, it feels like the tide has pulled out, leaving everyone stranded in uncertainty. Episode 11 doesn't hand us answers. Instead, it leaves us with questions about love, about loyalty, about whether family bonds can survive when love stands between them. It's a slow burn turned into an explosion, and by the time the credits roll, viewers are left with a knot in their stomachs, knowing the story isn't finished, but fearing that the damage might already be beyond repair. This is not just a recap of summer. It is the unraveling of a story we've followed for seasons. It's the moment where the love triangle isn't just a plot device, it's a living, breathing conflict that demands resolution. And as episode 11 closes, one thing becomes painfully clear. No matter who Belly chooses, the brothers we once knew may never be the same again. Asterisk at the heart of episode 11 lies the moment fans have both dreaded and anticipated, the clash between Conrad and Jeremiah. It isn't just a fight over Belly. It is the eruption of years of unspoken tension, jealousy, and love. To truly understand why this episode hits so hard, we need to look at each brother, not just as rivals, but as two very different hearts beating toward the same girl. Conrad has always been the storm. He is the one who keeps his feelings bottled up until they spill over in ways that are messy, confusing, and often painful. His love for Belly is undeniable, but it has always been wrapped in silence, hesitation, and fear of vulnerability. 2. Him, loving Belly feels like holding the sun, beautiful, life-giving, but dangerous to touch for too long. In episode 11, we see that struggle written all over him. Every look he gives her is heavy, every pause feels loaded, but still he hesitates. And that hesitation is his greatest weakness. Conrad loves deeply, but his inability to express it leaves room for doubt, not just in Belly's heart, but in ours as viewers. Jeremiah, on the other hand, is the fire. His love is loud, passionate, and unafraid. Where Conrad hides, Jeremiah declares he doesn't just feel, he shows, and that is his greatest strength. When he looks at Belly, there is no question, no hesitation, no wall between them. He wants her to know, without a doubt, that she is his choice. But passion, while powerful, can also be blinding. Jeremiah's open love sometimes feels too simple, as though he believes that saying the words is enough to secure her heart. Episode 11 forces us to ask, does love need to be spoken loudly to be real? Or can it exist quietly, burning just as deeply in silence? The confrontation between the brothers in this episode is not only about Belly, it is about identity. Jeremiah has lived much of his life in Conrad's shadow, the lighter brother, the one easier to love, but never quite as intense, never quite as unforgettable. His determination to fight for Belly feels like more than romance, it feels like rebellion. It is his chance to finally step out of Conrad's shadow and prove that he is worthy, not just as the second option, but as the only choice. For Conrad, the fight is more complicated. He doesn't want to hurt Jeremiah, but he also can't let go of Belly. She is more than just a girl to him. She represents a piece of hope, of happiness, in a life where he often feels weighed down by grief and responsibility. Losing her wouldn't just mean losing love. It would mean losing the one person who makes him believe he can be more than his silence, more than his fear. His love is tangled, imperfect, but undeniably real. Episode 11 paints their rivalry with a painful truth. Both of them love Belly in ways that are valid. Conrad's love is the kind that lasts, the kind that runs deep, even when unspoken. Jeremiah's love is the kind that lifts, the kind that feels safe, open, and uncomplicated. Neither is wrong, but neither is entirely right. And that's what makes the conflict so devastating. There is no easy answer. Belly cannot choose without breaking someone. The most striking part of this analysis is how their love for Belly mirrors who they are as people. Conrad's guardedness reflects his fear of loss, his belief that showing too much will only end in pain. Jeremiah's openness reflects his hunger for recognition, his need to be seen as someone who deserves love without conditions. Belly stands between them not just as a romantic choice, but as a mirror of their identities. Whoever she chooses, she will confirm something about them both, that Conrad's silence was either too much to bear, or that Jeremiah's passion was. Finally, enough. This episode also pushes us to think about brotherhood. Their rivalry is heartbreaking because beneath the jealousy and anger lies a bond that should have been unshakable. They are not just fighting for Belly, they are fighting for validation, for identity, for the right to be chosen. And in doing so, they risk destroying the very bond that once made them strong. The tragedy is not only that one of them will lose Belly, but that both may lose each other. As fans, we are forced into the same impossible question that Belly faces. Do we side with Conrad, the storm that hides a depth of love waiting to be uncovered, or Jeremiah, the fire that burns openly and brightly, offering warmth without hesitation? Episode 11 doesn't give us an answer, but it lays bare the emotional battlefield, leaving us torn, conflicted, and desperate for resolution. What makes this analysis so powerful is that it reminds us love is never simple. It can be quiet and deep, or loud and burning. It can lift you or break you. And sometimes, when love exists in the hearts of two people who share blood, it can destroy more than it creates. Episode 11 is proof of this truth, and by the time the credits roll, we're left with a haunting question. In the war between Conrad and Jeremiah, is there truly a winner, or will they both lose more than they ever imagined? When episode 11 ends, it does not feel like a simple conclusion. Instead, it feels like a doorway left wide open, a silence that lingers long after the credits roll. We sit there, staring at the screen, our minds racing with everything Conrad said, everything Jeremiah shouted, and everything Belly couldn't bring herself to answer. The love triangle has never been so sharp, never been so painful, and never been so real. What makes this episode unforgettable is not just the fight itself, it's the way it forces us, as viewers, to confront the truth about love, choice, and sacrifice. This episode is more than a recap of a summer romance. It is the emotional breaking point of three lives colliding. The summer house, once the symbol of childhood innocence, now feels like a battlefield where nothing is safe anymore. Conrad and Jeremiah are no longer the boys we met in the beginning. They are men, standing in the wreckage of their own feelings, realizing that winning Belly might mean losing each other forever. And Belly? She is not the carefree girl of season 1 anymore. She is a young woman forced to make a choice that will define her future. Even if that choice leaves scars she can never fully heal, the beauty of The Summer I Turned Pretty is that it doesn't give us easy answers. It doesn't tell us who the right choice is, because in love there rarely is a right choice. Instead, it shows us the complexity of the human heart, the way love can be both soft and sharp, healing and breaking, steady and chaotic. Episode 11 is a reminder that love is not about perfection. It is about risk. To love someone is to risk everything, and both Conrad and Jeremiah prove that in their own ways. As we step back and reflect, the question becomes unavoidable. What do we value most in love? Do we choose the comfort of safety, the kind of love Jeremiah represents, open and warm, a love that promises stability? Or do we choose the depth of passion, the kind of love Conrad offers, stormy and uncertain but unforgettable? Belly's silence at the end of this episode mirrors our own indecision. As fans, we can see the truth in both sides, and maybe that is what makes this story so addictive. It forces us to wrestle with our own ideas of love, just as Belly does. But beyond romance, this episode is also about family. The heartbreak of Conrad and Jeremiah's fight is not only in the words they throw at each other, but in the realization that their bond as brothers might never recover. Love has divided them, carving a wound that may not close. No matter who ends up with Belly, that's the tragedy at the center of this story. Love gives, but it also takes, and in this case it threatens to take away the one thing they can never replace: their brotherhood. And yet, even in the pain, there is beauty. There is something profoundly human in watching these characters stumble, break, and try to find their way again. It reminds us that love stories are never neat, never simple. They are messy, filled with mistakes and misunderstandings, but also with moments of honesty that make us believe in love's power all over again. Episode 11 leaves us breathless because it doesn't just tell a story, it makes us feel it deep in our own hearts. So now, the question turns to you. As you sit with the echoes of this episode, whose side are you on? Do you believe Conrad's quiet, guarded love is the one that lasts, or do you believe Jeremiah's open, passionate devotion is the one Belly truly needs? There's no wrong answer, only the truth of what resonates with you. That's the magic of this story. It gives us a mirror, reflecting our own desires and fears back at us. Comment below and let your voice be heard. Tell me who you think Belly should choose and why. Is it Conrad, the storm that holds secrets too heavy to ignore? Or Jeremiah, the fire that refuses to fade no matter what stands in his way? Your thoughts matter, because this isn't just a story we watch. It's a story we live through together. And as we wait for what comes next, remember this: love is never easy, never clean, but it is always worth the risk. The Summer I Turned Pretty reminds us of that truth again and again. Episode 11 was not the ending, but the turning point. And what happens next will decide not just who wins Belly's heart, but who survives the storm of love without losing themselves. Stay tuned, because the summer isn't over, and the story of Conrad, Jeremiah, and Belly still has so much more to tell.